Hello, and this is a training tutorial for residents of the Neurosurgery program. Today we're going to walk you through how to log your learning experiences using TRES. Let's dive right in. So when you log into your account, just click on the Activities drop-down menu and click on Enter New Activity. This is going to take you to the Activity Entry screen. You'll be presented with a few different options here under the Activity Type drop-down menu. And you can see here we have Academic, Emergency Consult, as well as Procedure. We'll be going through each of these options here. So let's just start with Academic. And let's just fill this out. So starting with today's date, we can also click the calendar picker and change this to a date in the past, of course. But let's just leave that to today's date. We can select our training center. So I'll just select one of the training centers and the attending physician that was present, which in this case, I'll just leave this particular option selected. And I can also specify the time that I spent in that particular session. And you can just type in hours and minutes using your keyboard, or if you click inside these fields, you'll see a selection menu pop up. And I can just click on one of those options. So let's just say this took 2 hours and 15 minutes. We can also select our role. So in this case, I may have been either a attendee or presenter. And if we jump down to activity details under description, I can log one of the many options here. So perhaps this was an academic half day or I attended a conference. And depending on the option I select here, for example, if I attended a conference, I may want to capture what topic was discussed at that conference. And I can do that just by typing in any text that I like here, as this is a free-form text field. So let's do that now. And optionally, I can fill out the private notes area. And private notes, just as it says, is only visible to you. So the program, as well as the consultants, are not able to see that information. So for this example, I'm just going to leave that blank and I'm going to save my activity. Now, before I save, I can actually create a brand new academic activity just by clicking Save and New here. So let's just do that now. So Save and New will create a new activity based on the one you previously entered. So because I had entered an academic activity and created a new one, this created a brand new academic activity. If I was using a different activity, such as an emergency consult or procedure, it would create a brand new version of whatever form I was selecting. So now it can tell you at the top here that the activity you were just editing has been saved, and this is a new activity. And you can see here it does retain certain fields that you previously selected. So for example, the date, the attending physician, and the role. It will remember the last one that you entered. And the reason for that is just to make things a little bit quicker. So for example, you may have the same role for a lot of different types of activities. Perhaps you are an attendee. Very often, you may not want to re-enter that information in over and over again. So TRES does remember a few fields. Otherwise, because this is a brand new academic activity, I can just fill in the rest of the information and save my activity. So perhaps I was a presenter at this conference. I can select that option and type in a topic and click Save. And before I save this, I perhaps may want to duplicate this activity. So let's just go ahead and do that now. And saving and duplicating makes things real quick when you have a lot of activities you need to enter. So for example, perhaps I may want to log 5 different academic sessions, but I don't want to have to re-enter in the same information over and over. So if I just duplicate one activity, it saves all of that information like you can see here. And it makes it a lot easier if you just maybe want to change 1 or 2 pieces of information. So that's what the duplicate feature does. So now that I'm happy with this, I can also create a different type of activity. So let's just go ahead and save this, and we'll go ahead and create an emergency consult. So we're going to switch to that. And you can see now that we have selected emergency consult, some of the fields have changed under patient interaction. Let's just go ahead and fill this out. So I'm going to select a training center. And I'm going to now fill out the patient interaction section. So I may want to select the location. So this was perhaps an emergency or inpatient ward. And I want to select the diagnosis for that patient. Now, in this case here, all of the diagnoses are grouped by category, and you can see if we just click the plus symbol, we can expand each of those categories and see all of the options. Now, I can actually use a type and search feature. So you can see here it actually says type to search. So that's just a little reminder that you can just type in a few key letters of the diagnoses and it will pull them up for you. So for example, if I wanted to type in dermal, all I have to do is just type in at least 2 or 3 letters of that word and it will automatically populate that list. So there's that dermal sinus option that I wanted, and I can just click on that with my mouse, or I can use the up and down arrows on my keyboard to navigate the list, which personally is one of my favorite options. So I'm just going to click enter, and you can see I can enter more than one diagnosis as well. On the right hand side, it just shows me the option I have currently selected, but let's just go ahead and enter another option, and I can enter as many as 5 items. For the purpose of this, I'll just select the 1. Now let's try entering a comorbidity. So we have quite a long list here, but again, I'm just going to try the search option. There it is. And now I can select the level of urgency. So elective, emergency, or urgent. And now some more patient-specific information, such as the patient's gender. Now the role is a little bit different for emergency consult. So some of the options here would allow you to specify whether or not you performed all or a majority or even partially some of the procedures involved. So for this example, I'm just going to say I performed most of the procedures in this. And now I can also select the patient birth date. So let's just go ahead and fill that in. And patient MRN number, if you do want to track more patient data, you can also enter that in. This particular option is optional actually, so you don't have to fill it in, but I can put in a patient MRN number if I like. And once again, I can also enter any private notes about that particular emergency consult if I like. And now I can click save. So let's just do that now. All right. So we have now entered our first emergency consult activity. So let's go ahead and actually switch it up and let's log a procedure. Okay, so once again, let's just fill in all these options here, and I'm just going to try selecting a different training center for this example. And I'll fill in location and our diagnosis. And let's just select a procedure. Now, of course, I can enter more than one procedure as well, like we previously discussed, a maximum of 5. And if I wanted to remove any of them, I can just easily click that little X button to remove those. All right, let's fill in our comorbidity and our emergency and the rest of the patient data. Now, perhaps in this case, maybe I only performed some of the procedure, or perhaps I was even assisted. So let's just select a different option here. And of course, we can put in the patient birth date. And optionally, the patient MRN number. And any private notes we might want to include. So now we've entered our first procedure, and you can see actually on the right hand side here we have a recently saved activities bar, and that shows you recent activities that you've previously entered, and you can also go back to them pretty easily, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So let's just go ahead and save this procedure, and once we save that procedure, it'll take us to the View Activities page. And the View Activities page will actually show you all the activities you entered in the system. And you can actually get to this page by going to the Activities drop-down menu and then clicking View Activities. So there's actually quite a lot of information on this page, and you can customize the way this page looks and some of the information that's displayed on this page. So it's basically broken down into 2 sections. We have a filter section at the top here, and then we have an activities section in the lower half. So let's just talk about our filters first. So with filters, we have a date range option. So we can select the date range we want to pull up our activity. So perhaps we may want to look at the activities that we entered for the previous year. So we can do that just by changing the date. And you can go back as far as you like. We can also further drill down by the type of activity. So for example, under activity type, I can tell it to show me all procedures that I entered in the system. Let's just try that and see what it finds. So you can see I've entered a bunch of procedures here. Now, of course, I can go back and edit any of those existing activities, but for the purpose of this, let's not do that at the moment. And so the filters here are completely customizable. Now, I've added my own filters, but you can actually change the filters that are visible on this page. And to do that, just click Customize Filters on the bottom right-hand corner here. And now we can either remove or add new filters to this page. So you can see all the options that I had added to that page. However, let's just add a few more. So I'm going to add the training center filter, and perhaps I may want to add the role filter as well. We can also, of course, remove any just by unchecking them like so. And let's just click done. All right, so now you can see the filters are a little bit different on my page. So I added a role filter, so I can now further filter by the role. So that's very handy if you want to find very specific activities in the system. And of course, you can also customize the lower half of that section. So you can see everything's listed in chronological order. And of course, we can just click the date column and change that sorting order, which is very easy. And the columns that are displayed here are customizable as well. So I can just select one and drag and drop it. So I can move those columns around just by dragging them like that. And of course, I can also remove any or add additional columns if I want to see more or less information. So to do that, I'm going to click Customize Columns. And on the left-hand side under visible columns, those are the ones that are currently there on the page. And of course, I can just remove one or two just by clicking on one and dragging it into the hidden columns area. Or of course, I can add additional columns just by dragging it over to visible columns as well. And of course, I can change the order just like so, just by dragging any of those options. Makes it very easy to do that. All right, so now we're happy with that. Let's just click done to save the changes. All right, so now we've customized that page. So now you can see the activity type, attending physician, diagnoses, procedures, and training center. So those are the columns that I have added. Now, of course, you can once again customize those yourself, and we encourage you to do so. And of course, now if I wanted to go back and edit one of those activities, I can easily do that just by clicking the edit button. And there's my activity. So that's how you go back and edit an activity. So let's just go back to the activities page. So we've shown you how to do some customization on the View Activities page, and we've also gone through entering in all the various types of activities that pertain to neurosurgery. So some of the other options we'll point out is we do encourage you to try the mobile smartphone apps. And you can click on the mobile apps link at the top, and you'll find links to the iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry apps. Those apps are free, so you can grab them today. Under the Help menu, you'll find a link to your account preferences. And if you go to preferences, you can do things like change your password or update your own contact information. We do recommend, if you plan on changing your email address, to make sure you do change your email address on the account. Otherwise, if you run into a scenario where perhaps you forget your password, you won't be able to reset your password without a valid email address. So that's how you update your account. Under the Help menu, you will also find links to FAQs, which stands for Frequently Asked Questions. You'll find links to troubleshooting tutorials and all sorts of very helpful guides in case you get stuck. You will also find a link to contact us as well. So we do have phone support as well as email support. If you do have any questions, please do reach out to us. Well, thank you, and that's what we wanted to show you today.